All right, guys, for the skeletal system study guide, please focus on slides 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17. It's actually the rest of the slides are listed at the very top left of the study guide. Okay, so please make sure that you are reviewing these specific slides from your PowerPoint to answer these questions, okay? So question number 1, list the major functions of the skeletal system. So what do you guys think? So there are 4 major functions, right? 1 is support and protection, 2, body movement, 3, blood cell formation or hematopoiesis, which occurs in bone marrow, and then 4, storage of inorganic materials like salt, calcium, and potassium, okay? And then how many bones are there normally in your skeleton? Everyone should know this. What do you guys say? It is 206 bones, right? And then for the next question, question 3 says list the groups of bones that make up the appendicular skeleton. So the appendicular skeleton consists of the pectoral girdle, okay, which has the scapula, clavicle, and arms, okay, and the pelvic girdle, which consists of the coxal bone and legs, okay. Another way that you might see this on a quiz or test, it might be worded something like this. The group of bones that make up the appendicular skeleton are hands, feet, upper and lower extremity, shoulder girdle, pelvic girdle, okay? And the group of bones that make up the axial skeleton are skull, vertebrae, and rib cage. So 4, name and describe the major parts of a bone. Label these parts on a diagram. Refer to your coloring. So remember when we colored the long bone structure, we had the epiphysis. Remember E is for end. 2, diaphyses, which is the shaft. 3, articular cartilage or hyaline cartilage, okay, for padding. And then 4, periosteum, which is the membrane that covers the entire bone. And then finally 5, the medulla, which contains marrow, okay? And then what is the membrane lining the medullary cavity? Anybody? So the membrane lining the medullary cavity is the endosteum, okay? So remember, the endosteum lines the medullary cavity, okay? And then what is the membrane that is on the surface of bones? What'd you guys say? So the membrane that is on the surface of bones is the periosteum. Okay, so periosteum is the membrane that covers the entire bone. And then for 6, what is the proper term for a skeletal joint? That is articulations. 7, describe the 2 types of marrow. So remember, number 1, we have red marrow, which produces blood. And then 2, we have yellow marrow, that's used for fat storage. Okay. 8, give the proper names for the 2 types of bone tissue. Where is each found? So remember, we have 1, compact, which is found on the wall of the diaphyses. 2, we have spongy, which is the cancellous epiphyses. red marrow. Okay? And now we're going to describe each of the following terms. So osteocytes are spidery. They appear spidery, okay? And osteocytes are mature bone cells that make up the majority of bone structure, okay? Osteoblasts produce new bone. Osteoclasts break down bone. Lacunae are small cavities in bone that contain osteocytes, okay? The Haversian central canal is found in center of rings, contains blood vessels and nerves. The Volkmann's canal is lined with endosteum, connects blood supply from periosteum to central canal and medullary cavity. Okay. Lamella are concentric circles. Larissa, can you get that for me? Lamella are concentric circles which are weight-bearing, column-like matrix tubes composed mainly of collagen. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and look at this diagram. Okay, so over here, so A is showing an osteon. Okay, so remember osteon are arranged in concentric circles called lamella. Okay, B shows blood vessels. These are blood vessels right here. C shows the periosteum. The periosteum is a membrane that covers the entire bone. So this right here is the periosteum. Okay. D shows the osteocytes, which are spidery. So remember, osteocytes are mature bone cells that make up the majority of bone structure. AB shows spongy bone. Okay, so all of this right here is the spongy bone. And spongy bone is the lattice of trabeculae that are found along lines of stress for perfect resistance from compression. Okay, over here we have AC shows the central Haversian canal, which is a channel in bone that contains blood vessels and nerves. AD, we have Volkmann's canal that is lined with endosteum. Okay, connects blood supply from periosteum to central canal and medullary cavity. Up next, question 11. So what bones are considered intramembranous or endochondral? So intramembranous are flat bones of the skull and are bones formed by intramembranous ossification. Endochondral are tubular bones and vertebrae formed by endochondral ossification. Okay, so 12. For 12, you're going to name and describe the three major types of joints. Okay, so the first example of a joint is synarthrotic, which are immovable joints called sutures in the skull. Okay. Second type of major joint is the amphiarthrotic, which are slightly movable vertebrae. Okay. The third type of joint are diarthrotic, movable joints or synovial. These are located in the knees, elbows, wrist, shoulder. Okay, and then you're going to give examples of the four types of diarthrotic joints. Okay, so number 1 is ball and socket, shoulder, hip. 2 is hinge, elbow, knee. 3 is pivot, lower arm. 4 is saddle or thumb. Okay, and then you're gonna, for 14, you're gonna identify the major bones of the skull. So for number 1, we have the parietal. Over here, in this area, we have the frontal. 3, we have the nasal. 4, maxilla. 5, mandible. 6, temporal. 7, occipital. Okay. 15, you're going to name and locate the 4 major sutures. All right, so for question 15, it says name and locate the 4 major sutures. So again, we have 4 different sutures. Sutures are connection points. The first suture is coronal, which is located between the frontal and parietal bones. Okay, the second major suture is the lambdoidal, which is located between occipital and parietal bones. The third major suture is the squamosal, which is located between temporal and parietal bones. And the fourth major type of suture is the sagittal, which is located between the parietal bones. Okay. For 16, we're going to go ahead and label the human skeleton. Right here, we have the skull. This area right along here is the mandible. This is the sternum right here. These are all ribs. And then we have the lumbar vertebrae right in this area. Okay. This is actually the pelvis. Okay, so this is supposed to be pointing to the pelvis. So this is the pelvis. We've got the sacrum right here in this area, and then we've got the coccyx at the very tip. The wrist bones are known as the carpals, and then we have the metacarpals in the middle, and then the fingertips are the phalanges. Okay. And then we have the long bone of the leg right here, which is the femur, the kneecap, the patella. Okay. The clavicle is right along here. Scapula is right there. This is the humerus, the radius, and then the ulna is the inner part. Okay. And then so again, this is the femur, the patella, and then right here you have the fibula and the tibia. Okay, so again, this is the tibia, and then this right here is the fibula, and we have the tarsals, metatarsals, and finally the phalanges. So that is our skeletal.